How are you doing? Thank you for coming through. David W. Williams, also known as the retail trader. And so, what we're going to get into today is this idea of the well being poison, and you live in the trick world, right? And it's also a setup to make sure that you die with nothing. So, what I'm going to kind of do is show you what I've been showing you for the last 5 years, is to really try to give you a lot of economic data around what real life actually looks like for a lot of people, but most importantly, for a lot of Black people. And to really start asking you to ask questions about your own personal life and not try to see yourself through the life that somebody else is, and also not allow someone to distract you from what you really need to do to improve your situation and also improve the situation of your group. Okay? Because I think that's what a lot of us are being caught up in, where we're living vicariously through other people. We're very apathetic. We're very distracted around what is actually going on in our real life. And so we're really not aware of what our real life situation is, because that's not often being presented to us. So we're not trying to figure out where we're currently at in this society. We often can think that we're in a better position because maybe I have the same skin color as somebody else and they're doing well, and I see myself through that particular person, right? So that's what we're going to get into. We're going to be very much data driven in this show. A side note, this will be the last live I do for a minimum 30 days. Might go out to 2 months, might go out to 3 months. It kind of depends on what direction I'm led in. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I pretty much have given the same message for 5 years straight. And if you're not in touch with what I'm saying, I'm not the person for you. You don't believe me, or you're distracted, right? So it's one of the three, right? And it could just be I'm not the person for you. It could be that you don't believe me, and it could just be that you're distracted. It's going to be one of the three. However, I'm at a point to where the message has been given. It's been communicated in a lot of different ways. I've given multiple examples. Either it's in you to do something about it or it's not. And then we can just move on from that particular situation. But what you won't be able to say is no one didn't tell you. You can just say I was told and I chose to do something different, or I didn't believe the guy, or he just wasn't the person for me. The way in which he communicated the message, it didn't make sense to me, or he wasn't the right person for me. And I can understand that because I'm not for everybody, right? So I'm going ahead and I'm going to take a vacation from doing live. Still will do videos, but won't be doing these because it take a lot of time, take a lot of energy, take a lot of effort. And to be real with you, just currently since Trump got elected, because he reached out to YouTube about some of their policies, is where I have been able to get more push with my videos over like the last 3 to 4 months. And I would say that because I've started to see my videos in the feeds and things of that nature, where, you know, there was a time to where I was putting out videos and my video wouldn't get processed for like maybe the first 48 hours, right? So it wouldn't be monetized at all. And then they would put restrictions on the monetization. And then I would have to appeal the restrictions. It would take sometimes 72 hours, sometimes longer, to get a video monetized. And I would be making videos about very vanilla topics. That's just what they did because, again, YouTube is set up to where they only want Black people to get certain messages. That's it. And if you're not delivering those messages, they're really not going to push you. They have their selected Black people, and so they got the one Black guy that's big in tech. They'll have another Black person that's big over here. But if you look at a lot of the Black content on YouTube, it's all in the same vein, because that's what YouTube wants Black people to get. So once you get outside of that vein, they really are not going to really publicize you on any level, because all of this, again, is designed to make sure that the majority of our group stays at the bottom, and to where we don't know how to solve our own problems. We only know how to solve problems of other people. And then we value ourselves based on our ability to solve problems of other people. And I'm going to show you in the data that even though we can solve other people's problems, we cannot solve our own problems. And then we think that we're ranking each other by these particular criteria. And this is foolishness. No intelligent group moves this way, right? No group that really has any kind of self-determination and really liberty around themselves moves this way. But we really think that we're somebody big because we can solve other people's problems, but we cannot solve our own problems. So it's reason why there's a large segment of our group that is disproportionately poorer. They have less wealth. They have less educated, because we can't solve that problem. Even everybody's talking about how much education they got and how well off they are. So that's what we're going to do. That message has been given. Economic warfare has been given. I've shown it to you time and time again. I'm going to show it to you again on this particular video. Economic segregation has been shown to you time and time again. I'm going to keep showing it to you on this particular video. If you don't like my solution, I have solutions. I've shown you other people, Miss Williams, By the Hood, George Dandridge, the sister that does real estate out here. We've kind of talked about this topic over and over and over and over and over and over again. Either you're going to move forward with something or you're not. Like, again, I may not be the guy for you, right? It is what it is, right? But you won't be able to say you weren't told. So really quickly, still having our 50% off sale on the highest paid part-time. That sale will end, right, the 1st of July. All our prices are going to go up exponentially. Again, we've been given a large amount of value for years at a very discounted price because I understand the demographics of the group that I was reaching out to. We're no longer going to be hitting that particular segment of the market. We still got 200 something videos of free content based around options on the YouTube. If you can't afford the course, I would encourage you to get into that. But we provided a lot of content to the course, to the community. Still got the best options community in the world. And there's nobody in this space that has worked with more people longer than what we've done, right? That's why I still have people that bought the course in 2021 and we're still connected because there's nobody in this space that has worked with people longer than what we've done. I've built a whole community on making sure that people have longevity in this particular space because I understood what it took to make them successful. And it wasn't me being a fly-by-night operation, right? So this is what we've done is we've done a lot of social experiments to really determine what people really want, right? And to really what people will really stick with through good or bad, through thick or thin. And we've seen the people that have stood the test of time, and we've seen the people that have fallen by the wayside, right? So let's go ahead and get to the topic because I don't want to be long-winded because this is going to be relatively long videos. There's going to be 2 parts to it. Some of y'all ain't going to make it to the second part. I'm cool with that. You ain't got to worry about it because next week I don't have to worry about doing this. So whatever happens, happens. It is what it is, right? Appreciate everybody for coming through. So we want to talk about, right, the well being poison. And you live in a trick world, right? And it's a setup to make sure that you die with nothing. And I really do believe that the way this world is set up, right, is for most of us to enter old age and not have anything to show for it. And a lot of us are already there, right? We're already at a stage in which we don't have savings. We don't have investments. We don't have some of the things that would allow us to actually go into our old age and have a nest egg and be able to retire gracefully, to be able to show something for all the years that we worked, right? And so I think that's something that we want to start really understanding about this world and realize that a lot of the messaging that we're given is really not designed around family. It's not designed around community. It's designed around individuality. In a world where groups and communities run the world, in a world where the cost of things is only going to get more and more expensive over time. And so looking at these economic outliers that are individuals, but they are very financially well off, is really not going to help the majority of the people because they're never going to be in that position. They're going to need community. They're going to need groups. They're going to need family to survive in this future. And a lot of people are just defeated. They've given up. They're waiting for the world to blow up. They're waiting for the real estate market to blow up. They're waiting for the economy to go into recession because I guess they think, well, if I'm doing bad, maybe if everybody else is doing bad, I feel better. If they think maybe that's going to restart everything and I can start from square zero, but I'm here to tell you that's not going to happen. If anything negative happens in this society from an economic standpoint, wealth will become even more entrenched around the top people in society, right? Asset values, if they continue to go up, the people that currently have assets, they'll continue to make more money. If inflation gets worse over time, which it will, the people that control assets, the value of the assets will continue to go up because of inflation. And we're not being approached with a paradigm or program that'll put us in the best position to be economically successful, right? We're really not. We're stuck with arguing over very, very minor ancillary things that really are not going to change anything in your life if you're right about it or if you're wrong about it. And then the society elevates people to bring these nonsensical arguments and these very nonsensical point of views to us because that's the only way they're going to get their success. Again, we as Black people are in a world to where our education does not solve our problems. It only is being leveraged to solve other people's problems. And then we just got to try to figure out how we fit in that particular situation, right? And so what happens is a lot of people are promoted around us and they're not really helping us solve any of our problems. We're helping solve their money problem and they're just giving us low-level entertainment. They're giving us feel-good content. They're giving us content to make me kind of feel like I'm higher in the pecking order, but there's really nothing to the content. There's no meat and potatoes to it, right? But they're successful because a lot of people, that's really what they want because they just want to feel better today and they'll worry about tomorrow. So let me show you something real quick right before we go ahead and get started because I'm going to start it off with what I'm talking about. What we're seeing is that this is some Joint Center for Housing Studies done by Harvard, right? This is most older adults cannot afford in-home or assisted living care. And so what we're seeing is that in these different particular metro areas, right, we're seeing the percentage of people that cannot afford assisted living. We're seeing the assisted living price. Okay. Then we also have the amount of people that cannot afford daily home care. Okay. In these different metro areas. I put the actual document. It's going to be in the description of this video. You can read the full paper. But what we're seeing is that a lot of people are approaching old age, and the cost of being old, the cost of care, they cannot afford it. And it's very, very dire for single people because they don't have anybody else to depend on. So this is why I told you that if you're going to kind of play this game where I'm going to just always be by myself, and being by myself is better, and I have all these reasons to be by myself, you really have to make sure that you're very, very financially successful, and that like has to be your life story, right? I was watching this movie last night. I don't know how many of y'all saw Ad Astra. I'm late to the movie. I'm late to a lot of movies because I rarely see anything when it comes out. And I was watching Ad Astra last night, and the Tommy Lee Jones character, he dedicated his whole life to his profession, right? He just was sold out of his profession. He neglected his wife. He neglected his children. Everything was being a professional astronaut and pushing the boundaries of space, okay? And so he was very successful at being an astronaut, but he was very, very unsuccessful at being a father. He was unsuccessful at being a husband, which was really more important than him being successful professionally, okay? But he sold out on that. And so what I don't think a lot of y'all realize is that if you're going to do this all alone, and that's going to be your paradigm, you have to really be sold out on that. And this is why you see a lot of our entertainers and a lot of those people, they do anything and everything to be successful. They make whatever deal they got to make because they realize I have to be sold out on this to get to this particular level. If currently right now in 2025, people are struggling with long-term care financially, they're struggling with elder care costs financially, where do you think those costs will be in 10 years? Do you think they'll be less or higher? Right? So this is what I want people to understand. We're seeing currently right now at the end of people's lives, on the back end of their life, they're struggling with the cost of care. Right? Why would we believe that those costs are going to be lower in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years? Why would we believe that? So have you had any kind of discussions around in 30 years, 40 years, whatever it may be, what are going to be the cost of me living? There's a story, and a lot of people believe that if you're under a certain age and you make it to 2030, the likelihood of you making it to 100 are going to be very, very high. So what we could see is a population become older and older and older and still be alive, but the cost of care continuing to go up. And so that's what I want people to really understand, is that I'm not sure that people have really taken analysis and taken account of their own personal life, their own economic situation, and realize that there are all these forces acting on you to make sure that when you get to the end of this thing, when you get towards the end of this particular game, you're not going to have a lot to show for it. Because the way they make money is to move money from you to them, right? That's how they make money. You see very few people in these spaces actually make money by empowering the people around them. Very few people make money by building up the people around them. Most of them make money by moving money from you to them. And I'm not saying that's a negative. What I'm saying is that if it's done in a way in which it's taking away from you, and it's not really preparing you for the future, you got to ask yourself, why are you engaging in that? Right? And then why have you filled your life full of a bunch of people and you made them very successful, but they've done very little to help you out, right? And I'm not saying that people can't be fans of people. People can't like certain celebrities. You know, Black people, we're geniuses from the creative side. We got a lot of creative geniuses. But what I'm saying is that when this becomes your whole life and you don't account for anything else, they're good and you're going to end up in a negative situation, because we're currently seeing that's the situation. If you want to look at the actual data, the description for this particular video, this particular printout that I'm showing you is in the actual description. You ain't got to take my word for it. You just got to read the documentation. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So what I want to ask you is that why are so many people kind of bought into this logical fallacy, right? Around, I'm just going to do it all by myself because nobody's on my level, right? And so we call it poison in the water logical fallacy. And we see a lot of this in the kind of like the gender war space. And the reason why I'm against it is because, again, I know unless you make a ridiculous amount of money over the course of your life, it's going to be very difficult for you to survive by yourself, just from an economic standpoint. You have a very, very small margin of error to make a mistake. If anything happens to you, that could be it. You might get one shot at that. So if you're going to do this by yourself because you just constantly have this belief that nobody's going to be on your level, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. And we also see that a lot of people that are doing this, if you look at the economic data, they're really not doing well economically in real life, not on the internet. And so that's what I want people to talk about. When you get away from a lot of the false narratives that are being put out here, and you actually start going into the economic data, a lot of the people are really not doing well. But we have a lot of people in this space where their job is to poison the water. This is how they get compensated. So they poison the water, and what they kind of make it seem is like, this situation is negative, so you should never go into it. So you already have a negative point of view of these situations. I told people before, I would never sit on TikTok and ingest a bunch of negative content around relationships if I want to be in a relationship. I'm not learning what I shouldn't do. I'm being programmed to not do it. It's the difference between the two. It's the difference between somebody educating me on, here's how you buy a car properly, and then somebody trying to scare me out of buying a car because they got nothing but negative stories about how they bought a car and the car broke down, right? So we have a lot of poison in the water logical fallacy. And again, many of you have promoted people because you like their entertainment, but they never present any data, never present any facts to you. So you are believing in a lot of logical fallacies because no data or facts has ever been presented to you about anything, and you don't demand it. You just like the entertainment. Here's some of the things that we've seen. Black women are bad because of XYZ that's not factual. So you have people that have been very, very successful on social media telling you that Black women are bad because of these particular things, but none of those things are factual. It's just made up, right? But they built really big platforms, had really big audiences on things that they just made up, right? But what they're really doing is they're poisoning the water. Another example, Black women are superior than Black men because of XYZ. That's also not factual, right? So when I first jumped on YouTube 5 years ago, all of the relationship, dating coaches, life coaches in the Black space were telling Black women, well, you know, you're really doing Black men a favor by dating them because the average Black woman makes more money than Black men. That's never been true. That's never been true. But because I'm a trader and I look at BLS data, because I know the Fed looks at BLS data, I can go right to the BLS data and pull the BLS data and show that that's not true. But even Tyler Perry got on the show and he said that, well, you know, Black women should make concessions in their dating because they make more money than Black women. Now, you would think Tyler Perry, with the amount of money that he had, he could get correct information. The guy's pretty much a billionaire. You could think that he could get accurate data. But again, it's the poison in the water logical fallacy, right? I'm going to give you my opinion. I believe for Tyler Perry to keep his audience, he has to lie to Black women. That's my opinion. I have no data to support it. That's just my opinion. For Tyler Perry to keep his audience, for him to keep the ball rolling, for him to keep his position in the society, he has to keep lying to Black women. That's what he needs to do to keep his motion in this game. That's my opinion. I have no data to support that. Right? So this is a lot of what you see in this particular space. And the question is, if you buy into this stuff, when you get to the end of your run, what are you going to have to show for your life? Right? That's what I'm really asking you. First, for you to understand that, you got to constantly understand where you at. And so something I've talked about since I started getting on YouTube is that a lot of y'all are in a position, you think you're in a position that you're not at. A lot of y'all have bad consumer habits. You have bad spending habits. You're not good at investing. You don't have a good economic analysis, right? And you're going to put yourself in a very negative position. It's going to be detrimental to you. It's going to be detrimental to your group. It's going to be detrimental to your descendants because you haven't really taken account of your economic situation, right? And so that's something that you need to really do. Not worry about anybody else. Really understand what class do you really come out of? Really in real life, not this idea that you put inside your head. And then what do you need to do to try to improve yourself in this particular society to increase your economic mobility? There was a report came out that I think it's a 1 in 100, or there's a very, very low chance that a Black person born in poverty can get out. But on the internet, everybody's doing so well. Everybody's making so much money. Everybody's flying all around the world, taking these fly trips. But we actually look at the economic data, and I'm going to show you some of that, it's not being represented in the economic data. So there's some kind of discrepancy somewhere, right? And so this is why I want a lot of y'all to snap out of it and really start to understand what is motivating a lot of these people to give me a lot of these messages, right? Because let me give an example, because I'm older than some of y'all. When I was coming up, a lot of these rappers and their negative messages, you know why they was giving it to them? Because there's people behind the scenes telling them that we want you to make certain type of content. And if you don't make certain type of content, we're not going to pay you. So a lot of them dudes took the deal. They said, hey, you know what? These people want me to make certain type of content. I'm going to make it because that's how I'm going to get paid. Really examine why you're constantly now in this social media era, these people are being promoted to you and they're giving you messages. And once you start really digging through actual data around what they're saying, the messages don't support real life. And so what I want you to always realize is that you live in the real world. You live in the natural world. How come a lot of what they're telling you doesn't support real life, the real world outside of the internet? Okay, that's what I'm talking about. I live in the metro area of Atlanta. I'm actually in the city. I be in the city, right? I don't live in the boondocks somewhere, right? I actually be in the city. Most of these people that you hear talking about Metro Atlanta, they're not in the city. They don't come through the city. When I'm coming through the west side, over there by that Oakland City, over there by that West End, I'm looking at buildings that have been burnt down and have never been improved. I'm looking at the fact that we probably got E-level commercial real estate in some of these places. I'm looking at the roads have not been maintained, right? I'm looking at the fact that we have a lot of issues with services and lack of services and a lot of issues. This is in the real world. You know why I can see that? Because I'm actually in the city, right? A lot of these people, they're living out in Flowery Branch out there where the Falcons play football, and they talking about Atlanta. They only time they come into the city when there's an event that they need to be at the event. So they do YouTube, and then they come into the city for an event that they're doing, or they have a church inside the city. They show up the church, they show up for the church, but they don't do nothing in the city, right? So you got the dude, was it 1619? That's off of Greenbrier. He used to be off of Bolton. Then he used to be off on the west side somewhere. Let me clue y'all into something for people that know what I'm talking about. Nobody in the city knows this dude. Nobody in the city knows this guy. So he's big on the internet, but nobody in the city knows him. Because if he on the west side and Huff don't know him, nobody knows him because Huff from the west side and Huff know everybody in that section. See what I'm saying? So I come out of a different game. We do politics, right? We do what section you from. Nobody knows a lot of these people in real life. Nobody knows them. They're just big on the internet. And so this is what I want you to do. Don't get caught in this internet thing and make this be your thing. And your real life is something totally different. Because eventually your real life is going to hit you the same way it's hitting these seniors who cannot pay for long-term care. This is a real life situation. It can't be solved by watching a TikTok video. So a lot of these people, and I'm going to show you this later on in this video, that they think they speaking for the city. They're not in the city like that. Nobody knows these people, right? If you go back to where I'm from in West Orlando, people know me. I was a known person out there, and I wasn't a high profile person, but the right people knew me. That was a fact. Why? Because I made sure they knew me because I did what it took to get known. I wasn't in the house on the internet, right? So I took that and say, okay, now I'm gonna apply it in a positive way. Got with people like Huff and did it on the positive tip, but nobody knows a lot of these people. And so that's what I want you to really understand. I'm actually in the city of Atlanta. I look at what's going on in Vine City. I look at what's going on in the West End. I look at what's going on in the old Fourth Ward. I just came up off the East Side. I see what's going on out here. These people are nowhere to be found, right? They little crew, they little organization, nowhere to be found. You can't find them anywhere. Nobody knows these people. You're not moving in the city, and you're not a factor in the city. I don't care how underground you are. If people that's really from them sections and they really from here, nobody knows you. You can't fool me. You can fool internet people. I know how this game is played. Nobody knows you, okay? At least the mayor lives in Collier Heights. Some of y'all don't know about Collier Heights. At least he lives in Collier Heights. But you got people again, that are presenting themselves as having insight on the city of Atlanta, and they might live in Macon. Who knows? Because nobody knows these people, right? Just like I told you that Jay Morrison living in the SWATs. That's why none of this internet stuff moved me, because dude living in the SWATs around, he was living in the SWATs around a number of black folks. He didn't move way out, and he moved around the city. He didn't hide from nobody. That just was the internet. That's why I kept trying to tell you, like, this dude not hiding from anybody, right? So this is what I want you to understand. Deal with real life. Deal with your real life situation. Yeah, entertainment is cool. That's cool, right? These entertainers are cool. They cool too. But it's not real life. Somebody to where they do a podcast and then they're trying to get speaking engagements, or they do podcasts, right? And then they build up a big podcast audience, right? And that's what they use to finance their lifestyle. But nobody knows them, right? If you from Florida, I'm gonna know. I can find out who you are. It's not that difficult, because I come from an era where wasn't no internet. We can find out exactly who you are. And nobody knows these people, right? You can't really hold stock in them like that, as opposed to this being some real life situation. Nobody's perfect. I'm one of the least perfect people in the world, but I never say, you know what, I'm gonna build my YouTube platform by just lying to people about stuff and just trying to figure out what delusion can I get them to buy into, and I'm gonna just sell that delusion to them, and that's how I'm gonna make my money, right? I never did that. And I would tell any person, right, but most importantly, women, if you're listening to a man on this YouTube, right, and he has not worked 10 years in anything before he did this YouTube, you're very silly to listen to him, because he don't know what real life is all about. But we gonna get into that into the later note. A lot of people got on this YouTube and got promoted, and they was giving counsel and advice to people, ain't worked nowhere 10 years, right? When I was coming up, you couldn't even go to grad school. You could not get your MBA unless you had done X amount of years in the workforce, because you want to know why? You have nothing to contribute to an MBA program. They changed that when I was in college. I know people that's going to the MBA program straight from their bachelor's because they got thirsty for money. But there was a time the way you could not get into a reputable MBA program if you had not worked in your field X amount of years. You want to know why? Because you got nothing to contribute to the place. You have no perspective on working. You have no perspective on business to contribute to an MBA program. Now it's changed. So this is what I'm trying to get you to understand. Deal with the real world, which is the actual world you live in. Leave a lot of this YouTube stuff alone. We're going to go to get into it, because like I say, I don't want to be just sitting on a point, but I want to go in and just make sure I say some stuff, so when I dip off, you can't say you weren't told. Let's keep going.
I can remember, the national mainstream media has been all too eager to tell Black women how unlikely we are to find love and or marriage. Just last week, Yahoo's homepage featured an article entitled, "Why Aren't College-Educated Black Women Meeting Their Match?" And of course, who could forget that dreadful ABC News Nightline special from 2009 called Single, Black, Female, and Plenty of Company. And if that was not enough, they went on to add insults to injury by running a piece the very next year called Nightline Face-Off: Why Can't a Successful Black Woman Find a Man? Well, let me tell you, I'm actually done with this downtrodden, woe is us pity party for the highly educated single Black woman in America. She is me and I am her. And let me assure you that I and we are no sob story. Now, listen, of course, sharing your life with a loving and compatible partner would be a wonderful addition to the blessed life I get to live. But I'm not buying, nor am I further perpetrating this very raggedy narrative that we, as successful Black women, are the problem. See, the reason that there is a disproportionate number of single Black women is simple, and it's twofold. Number one, anti-Blackness. See, the bias against deeply melanated skin is both persistent and global. So while, thank God, there are many, 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 many men that appreciate and even prefer the gift that is dark skin, white supremacy has done its job effectively, and therefore many of us Black women are not getting swiped on, or as the kids say, chose. Number 2, dating is a numbers game. Now listen, I don't have to tell y'all the data. We know that Black women outnumber Black men in college graduation rates, home ownership rates, small business development rates, and so on and so on. So if you are a Black woman wanting to partner with a Black man of similar credentials and assets, there are simply not enough to go around.
Okay, so, you know, she said her little thing. That's what she does. She's an attorney by trade. So she's very good at like presenting arguments. So here's the first question I would want to kind of ask. She represents Black women that are extremely educated, extremely successful. Definition of successful is going to be subjective. The question I would ask is that we look at the total population of Black women inside the United States. How many of those Black women exist from a number standpoint? Like, so in the real world, if we look at the amount of Black women that have will have master's degrees or greater, what would be the total number of those Black women? Not saying they don't exist. What I'm saying is that that's who she's going after, right? Because if you notice, and if you look at Miss Williams, a lot of her content is not based around Black women that have a large amount of education, really empowering those Black women. She's more like kind of like in the gossip space, right? So you just would ask is that, yes, that's her profile. That's what she's been able to do with her life. But is she looking to build an audience of Black women who come from a similar background, or is she going after Black women who don't come from that particular background, who are a lot more economically unstable, who have to deal with a lot more economic insecurity, and then she's using the fact that she has that particular type of education, yada, 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 as a prestige badge, right? So these are the kind of questions we've got to ask, because again, we're going to go into the data, because the majority of people inside the United States, Black, white, green, or purple, are not going to be attorneys. That's just the reality of the situation, right? So she's really not an avatar for the average Black woman, because she's an outlier from an education standpoint. She's an outlier from an income standpoint. So again, who is she really appealing to? But that's what I'm trying to ask. So when you hear these type of arguments around things and they kind of use somebody like Miss Williams as this attractive character, my thing is that she doesn't really represent the majority of Black women. And then she's also not creating content. She's not creating education. She's not creating curriculum to take Black women that are maybe not from the background that she's from or have not done what she's done, and to move them through a process to get to where she's at. She's very much creating content to keep them right where they're at. And that's how she supports her lifestyle. And that's my opinion. She may feel like she's doing something different, but that's what I see from her. Let's go into another. We're going to go into a much older piece, kind of in the same vein, because I wanted you to understand kind of like how long these narratives have been going on. And then why do we think there's such an effort to keep talking about why we have this distance between Black men and Black women being able to create partnership without real solutions to the situation? But couldn't really create a solution to it. You got to really deal with the real life situation, not this internet stuff, right? This reality TV stuff, this gossip column stuff. Because, you know, you go to Miss Williams' page on her Instagram, she's sitting on Instagram with a man who's selling gossip to women. That's like the lane she's in. So you went to law school, you did all this on a professional level, and in 2025, you on Instagram with a sassy dude selling gossip to Black women. Like that's what, again, I talked about. Our education doesn't solve our problem. It solves everybody else's problem. So we can have all that education, still can't figure out how to solve our problem. So then now we got to do whatever we got to do to support our lifestyle and to keep our fame going. Let me go into this next video.
I love marriage and a baby carriage, to paraphrase those famous lyrics. But for millions of Black women, many blessed with brains and beauty, finding the right man is proving elusive. But why? Are their standards too high, or are the pickings too slim? Lindsay Davis tried to answer that question.
Birthday! Cheers! Make a wish.
Nicole Marchand is celebrating another birthday. At 31, she's accomplished a lot. She's a prosecuting attorney and running for state court judge.
It'll be a $500 fine.
Nicole isn't the kind of woman you find standing by on the sidelines of life. But you would find her here, at the Georgia Dome, cheering on the Atlanta Falcons. You've heard of a man's man. Nicole is the quintessential man's woman. She appears to have it all, and yet still single. 42% of Black women have never been married. That's double the number of never married white women.
I look forward to the day. I look forward to being married.
It's just not that easy. For starters, there are more Black women than Black men, 1.8 million more. So even if every Black man in America married a Black woman today, 1 out of 12 still wouldn't make it down the aisle. Let's take 100 Black men. If you eliminate those without a high school diploma, those without a job, and the number of Black men between the ages of 25 and 34 who are incarcerated, that leaves only about half of Black men eligible to pop the question. Nicole sees the problem every day.
It is sad to see that the majority of the defendants that we prosecute are Black males. Those numbers can be very disappointing.
Admittedly, the selection of men is slim.
Get it through your head. You're the Friday girl that's just for sex. That's what you are.
We broach this serious dilemma with comedian turned relationship guru Steve Harvey, author of the book Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man.
There are still a lot of good men out there who are being overlooked.
Harvey says Black women don't have to settle, but may need to compromise.
You're a corporate exec. Does he have to be a corporate exec? You make $150,000 a year. He has to make $150,000 or above? That's your requirement? If your requirement sheet is ridiculous, you have to look at it.
What we looked at were the large numbers of professional Black women who groomed themselves for success with BAs, MDs, and JDs. 70% of them are still without the more elusive title, MRS.
I would be lying if I said that I don't have fleeting thoughts of, okay, I'm 32, my clock is ticking.
The tick-tock of the biological clock is getting louder for several of Nicole's single friends. Meet Chateau Waters. She's a 32-year-old high school counselor pursuing a doctorate degree in psychology.
We have this thing called the Black girl curse. A lot of our white friends are married by 25, like happily married. Kids by 27, and we're like, what is the deal with the BGs? You know, and it's the Black girl.
Jaqueen Ashford is a chemist for a pharmaceutical company. Now that she's 34, she's lowered the bar when it comes to height requirements.
I don't have a certain criteria, like if you're not 6'5", and I used to, but then as I got older, I said, okay, well, maybe if you're 6'3", 6'2", 6'1", okay, maybe we could see eye to eye. I kind of have certain standards that I hold myself to, and I don't feel like I should have to settle on those for the sake of having somebody. I'm willing to wait.
Like men.
Okay, and I want to say something real quick, because I'm 6'4". And this is what kind of threw me off. So you have a woman who's a chemist, right? So which means she has a STEM degree. And she's saying, I want to get somebody that one of the criteria means they got to be top 14% of, they have to be 14% of the population based on height. So only 14% of the population inside the United States of the male are over 6 foot tall. Right? I'm 6'4", right? So she's saying it was 6'5", which is going to be extremely difficult, right? Because once you get like around 6'5", 6'6", now you're going to like top maybe 4% to 5%, right? Based on height. So the guy needs to be 6'5", then 6'4", 6'3", but everybody above 6 foot tall is going to be in about 14% of the population, right? This is a woman with a STEM degree. So you would think she would be able to do the numbers on that a little bit better. So that's what is called a standard. So that's like me saying, let me give an example. I was looking at UT Texas, their women's volleyball program. They have 10 women on a team, around 10 women that are above 6 foot tall. Okay, those women are top 1% of population based on height. So if I was to say I can only deal with a woman that's above 6 foot tall, I'm now saying I can only deal with 1% of the population of women inside the United States. Then I got to find somebody that works for me, yada, yada, yada. But I can only deal with 1% because I'm only one of the women that's over 6 foot tall, right? Which is extremely tall, right? For a woman. So this is the type of stuff to where it's just unusual that somebody will box themselves in when the average woman inside the United States is maybe 5'4", 5'5". The women in my family are relatively tall. My mother's 5'9". I got siblings that are 5'9". I got women cousins that are 5'9". We're relatively tall people across the board, whether male or female. But it's just interesting. And I don't know how tall she is. But even at 5'9", you need somebody that's going to be 6'5". So now you're dealing with 14% of the population. So, but this is a standard. So this is the type of stuff to where you just kind of wonder, how does somebody with a STEM degree can't do the math on this. Let's keep going though. But this is from 09, so they've been pushing this type of stuff for a very long time.
Many black men, she's also open to dating outside her race. In fact, in the past decade, the number of black women entering interracial marriage has more than doubled.
In fact, last night was at a restaurant. Had a great conversation with this Caucasian gentleman. I mean, we were vibing, we were clicking. I'm thinking, he's gonna ask for my number. White men never ask for my number. And he was like, all right, well, great conversation. You know, maybe I'll see you around. I was thinking, what happened?
Ask for his.
No.
We're maybe not as coveted as black men in society.
Melinda Watson is a 28-year-old payroll specialist. She hasn't had an exclusive relationship since college.
I just feel that there's a lot of taboo associated with dating black women because I don't think that they're necessarily going to want to take us home to see mama.
The consensus in this group was that their preference is to marry a black man. It's not that they can't find one to date. The issue in many cases is exclusivity.
You meet these great guys, you have good relationship, good rapport, and then it's almost like, I'm going to keep you around, and hopefully when I'm ready to settle down, you'll be there.
That's the back pocket girl.
The back pocket girl.
And every now and then they'll check in with you to make sure you're still single.
You're not married
Right.
yet, are you still single? You still waiting on me? No, not really.
Chateau hasn't been in a committed relationship in more than a decade.
If you have 4 quality women that you're dating and, you know, they're in rotation, I mean, who's going to rush into a marriage?
We decided to ask Mr. Harvey for advice. He listened as we asked our single ladies about their requirements.
A list of about 50 things that I would keep in my Bible. It's now down to about 10. Honesty, supportive, financially stable. Now, granted, I'm 31, so he needs to be at a certain stage. What do you consider a deal breaker?
If there's not that initial chemistry, it's never going to work. I don't care if you have every quality on my list.
I'm not going to talk to you if I'm not attracted to you.
Right.
And so when this came out is where I believe that people realize that there's a big market for selling this kind of content to black women. This was 09. This was a long time ago. So for all my younger audience, this was about the time I think a lot of people, a light bulb went on in their head and they said that, you know what, I can make a lot of money selling, because Steve Harvey went on a full tour around his book around being a relationship counselor. So then you started seeing a lot of spinoffs. So that's what I really believe. And something I want to say this, because again, majority of women in my family have an education, right? They have a college degree. Some even have like advanced degrees. What is really unusual to me about this is that it's unusual to me personally that we have these women at this table and they have many advanced degrees, many professionally accomplished, and there's just a lack of seriousness in the conversation. It comes across very ninth grader. And I just think at their age, there would be more of a level of seriousness around what they're talking about. It wouldn't be this giddiness, but I may just be too serious for a lot of people, right? But they just probably, I don't think they put their best foot forward in this particular situation, but I also think this is what the producers wanted. But I just think that this was when people realized that there's a lot of money to be made pushing these particular type of narratives, especially the black women. Because they'll show up, they'll listen to it, they're entertained, they'll buy the content, they'll go to the seminars, they'll go to the conferences, yada, yada, yada. So again, Steve Harvey was able to reinvent himself as a comedian, now a / relationship counselor, even though with everything that he's been through, but I guess he learned from failure to not do it, right? So I'm not saying he did wrong. So that's what I want you to kind of understand. This stuff has been going on for an extended period of time. Let me go ahead and stop the screen because we want to get back to here. So they talked about a lot of different data points around black women. Let's go ahead and get into it. So Miss Ebony Williams talked about black women and businesses, okay? So here's something we got from Brookings. Despite the impacts of COVID-19 from 2017 to 2020, the number of employer businesses owned by black women rose to 52,000. That's going to be 37% of all black-owned businesses, and representing an increase of 1.41 percentage points. So even though black women accounted for about 7% of the total U.S. population and 13% of American women in 2020, they own a little bit less than 1% of all businesses and about 4% of women-owned businesses. Okay, so we're not taking away from that, right? They own, based on this particular data point from Brookings, from 17 to 2020. So it's not old yet, but it's still not what we call fresh. They're 37% of all black-owned businesses. We can call it 40%, right? Cool. But my question always is what about the 60%? So we're focused on the 40%. We're not taking nothing away from them. But what about the 60%? So is it a prop just because they got the 40? But what about the 60? So who's in the 60? And then when do we talk about them? So I just never can figure out why we want to, and I know why, because I did a video with Dana on it over 2 years ago talking about Nielsen data and black women. One of the reasons why there's this goal to segment black women out of everything is because they're super consumers. And black women have to really accept that. Black women in this economy are super consumers. So every marketing firm wants to segment black women out of everything. Because why? If we can isolate them and figure out what they want, they're going to buy from us. Steve Harvey just showed you how he did it. Steve Harvey coming up, he wasn't segmented towards black women. I used to grow up watching the TV show, the whole 9 yards. But marketers got with Steve Harvey and they realized, and I talked about, that black women are a super consumer group. Did a whole show with Dana on it 2 years ago. It's on my YouTube. I think Dana may have it too, about Nielsen data and how they really gave us a lot of data on black women as consumers. Black women are super consumers. So in my opinion, this is why we always segment out black women. And so they're very receptive to any information that they think is affirming them, right? Whether the information makes sense or not. Okay, let's keep going. So here is the data on black women in education, right? And we got this from government, okay? So this is going to be 2021 to 2022. So there's the numbers, right? We're not going to hide nothing. We're not going to try to suppress nothing. If you went to school, got your education, we ain't going to take it from you, right? We're not on that, okay? So here's the actual data. So here's what I want to, really kind of break down. We'll look at it from a bachelor's level standpoint. So we know that around 130,000 black women got bachelor's degrees 2021, 2022. We got 69,000 black men got bachelor's degrees 2021 to 2022. So there's going to be the comparison, 130 to 69, right? So we're talking almost double, right? In this particular year, based on this particular study, for black women to black men bachelor's degrees, okay? So this is also being used to very much affirm black women, where, you got more education than black men, right? Based on this particular study. Okay, so this is one we got from 2021 to 2022. That's the actual numbers. We'll also put this in the description later on, but you can go snapshot that, look at it, do what you got to do with it, right? Let's keep going. So we talked about black women buying homes. So here's the home buyers report, right? Let's go ahead and get to it. 2024 report released by the National Association of Realtors found that single black women now make up 29% of all black home buyers, far more than single black men who make up just 11%. Okay, so black women who are single make up 30% of all black home buyers, right? Black men make up just 11%. So let's call that 10%. Okay, so again, what about the other 60%? So my question I want to ask is that, do single black women think they're only competing for resources against single black men? Because often when they do these narratives, it's always single black woman, single black man. And that's always the versus type setup. But do single black women think that in this world, in this economy, in this marketplace, you're only competing against resources against single black men? Is that their belief system? Is that the reality that they're operating under? Do they really believe that? Do they know they're in a world run by families? Do they know they're in a world run by groups? Do they understand that that's the reality? That's the real world, not the internet world? That you're in a world run by families and run by groups. Single people run very little in this world, right? They run very little, okay? So that's what I want people to understand, is that, do black women think they're only competing for resources against single black men, which is why you keep getting these stories about single black women are doing this, and then we compare it against single black men. Okay, so let's say you're out competing single black men. So is that where it stops? Because what's the next level of the game? Because what we're not seeing in a lot of economic data is we're not seeing across wealth. We're not seeing across median income. We're not seeing across economic stability, to where single black women are this economic force inside America, in the real world, not on the internet. So the reason why I can say this is because I'm not trying to segment out single black women and use them as a way to make money. I don't care. I get my money out of the market. So I don't have to say, well, I can only say this, but I can't say this. The question I want to ask is that with all of this data to really show the success of single black women in all these particular areas, in the real world, we're not really seeing this, right? In the median income standpoint, we're definitely not seeing this in a wealth standpoint. And we're not seeing this across neighborhoods in the real world, where these neighborhoods are prosperous and they're looking better and they're improving because of single black women and how well they're doing. And a great example would be Atlanta. That's a great example. But we can go to different markets, right? Because census data, I can look up stuff based on zip code, right? And it's the same zip code that's going to be used by the insurance company when they give you out your insurance premiums. The same zip code that's going to be used by a bank when they decide how much they're going to charge you for a loan. They're using the same census income data, right? We're really just not seeing this massive, right, advancement and this massive elevation with this single black woman segment. Just not. In the real world, not on the internet, and not from like Z-list reality show celebrities. Just really not seeing it, right? Take the Z-list reality show celebrities, take the people that be in Tyler Perry movies, take them off the table, and we're just really not seeing it, right? So that's what I want to ask, right? Who are they really competing against, right? So, of course, because, you know, I was the kind of person, once I got good on the court, I started going to different courts. I didn't keep showing up at the same court if I knew I was better than everybody. Everybody different, though. But there was a court down the street from my house. Once I realized nobody in this court really can't deal with me, I started going to other courts. So if I know that, hey, I got this contemporary and they just not on my level based on how I think, then why I keep talking about it? Like, go find a new environment to compete in and show me that you can win in that particular environment. But we're just not seeing that in the real world. Okay, so that's what I want to talk about. Now let's keep going. Let me go ahead and stop that. We're going to go to another presentation. Okay, we're going to keep going down the rabbit hole.
It is what it is. Yeah. You said something last week that I was like, ooh, that's really step on some toes. You're talking about black men. You was like, if you really want to know
what the problem is.
Yeah, he was like, it ain't the black women. Let's really talk about the black men and the lack of accountability in that space.
There is a conversation that needs to be had in-house amongst the straight black male collective. It's time. There's a conversation. You know, black women are excelling in so many different areas. They've mobilized. They got their sister thing. They getting their degrees, getting themselves together. And there is this, you know, super toxic masculine push to be alpha males and to be leaders and want to be in charge of everything. And I say this with my whole chest. Want to be in charge of so much shit and want to be the head of the household and want you to respect them. And not all brothers, but many, the only thing they got on their damn resume is audacity. Ooh. That's it. Ain't got shit else to offer the world but and audacity. Ooh. You know what I'm saying? And that's a real conversation that needs to be had. Y'all mad? The sisters think they all that because they got their degrees, but get yours. Like, what are y'all waiting on? You know what I'm saying? And so that's a real conversation that needs to be had. When we start talking about issues that maim the black community and dead weight, the numbers show it ain't the sisters.
They ain't gonna like you saying that.
I don't give a damn. It ain't the sisters.
Okay, so his attitude is the numbers show that the dead weight is not the sisters. Now we got to ask him what he defines by dead weight. Okay, it is what it is. But again, no data. Figueroa, no data. Right now, they gonna come back later and ask black men to vote Democrat. But you know that's how that's gonna work. But it is what it is because people gonna entertain it. They're gonna come back in midterms and start telling black men they need to vote Democrat. Because again, we have a lot of people who their lifestyle is based on them solving somebody else's problem. Okay, it is what it is. So you got Figueroa and you got Dude, and they're gonna come back in 2026 midterms and tell black men they need to vote Democrat, and then they're gonna come back again in the election of what it's gonna be 27, 29, and they're gonna tell black men they need to vote Democrat again, and they're gonna be used to rally black women to vote Democrat. That's the lane that they in, and it is what it is. Okay, it is what it is. But we start talking about dead weight. So it's not the sisters. So then by default, straight black men are dead weight. Okay, cool. That's his narrative. That's what he pushing. He pushing what he pushing. Okay. And again, we get more to sassiness, but this is what we got on the internet. Like I say, I be in the city. I don't deal with none of that in real life. It's just on the internet, right? I actually be in the city and I don't have none of that. And this is Atlanta. So everybody know Atlanta got a reputation. I don't deal with none of that in the real world. It's just on the internet. So let's keep going. So let's look into this right here real quick. Let me go ahead and stop this. So this is BLS data, okay? We got BLS data. Let me go ahead and get into it real quick. And we want to look at median income, total men and women, first quarter 2025. So we're seeing black people total going to be 1K. Black American men is going to be 1017, right? Black women going to be 984. So I'm just not getting this dead weight argument. I'm not getting the dead weight argument. I don't get it. I don't get the dead weight argument that as a heterosexual black man, we're just dead weight. I'm not getting the dead weight argument. I'm not seeing it in any of the data. Okay, let's keep going. I'm not seeing it like you can just pull out heterosexual black men and say they're dead weight. This from Data Commons. They pull their stuff from the census, right? So we're going to look at Fulton County, cities in Fulton County, right? Median household income by race. Okay. You look at median income by gender. Okay. Zip codes, median income by gender and zip codes. You can figure out what zip code you in Atlanta. You can look at median income, right? This going to be male, this going to be female. Some of these incomes are going to be predominantly black because it's Atlanta. Okay. I'm not seeing in any of these zip codes where women are leading in income based on the median income. I'm not seeing women leading anywhere. Okay. Let's keep going. Median income by gender, right? Other cities in Fulton. So now you can break it down by city. College Park, Fairburn, what we got? Hateville, right? Roswell, South Fulton, Union City. Still not seeing females leading in median income by gender. So again, based on the city of Atlanta, this dead weight argument, I'm just not getting it. Now you can go find your own city. You may feel like, well, you know, Atlanta's an outlier. What city do you live in? You can pull the same data up. I didn't do anything you couldn't do. The thing about me is I'll just take the time to do it. I won't get on the internet and go back and forth with nobody about nothing. I won't do it. Just let's show the data and let's present the data. But I'm not getting this dead weight argument. Because what I'm not seeing is that in any of these actual zip codes where I know are predominantly black, where black women are just outperforming black men from a median income standpoint, I'm not seeing it on BLS data. I'm just not seeing it. Right? So yes, we showed that black women almost double black men in bachelor's degrees for 2021, 2022. Right? But I'm not seeing that in a lot of different economic indicators that there's an economic benefit that they're getting from that is really means that they're outperforming black men. I'm not seeing it. And if I'm wrong, show me where I'm wrong at. But at least I'm coming to the table with some type of information I'm using to support my narrative. I'm not just talking. So if I'm wrong, then show me where I'm wrong and I'll stand corrected. But I'm not just running my mouth because I have a black female audience that I need to sell stuff to. So I got to make sure I keep them on the hook. So I got to just tell them stuff to keep them in the state of delusion. I don't have to do that. Right? I'll just go trade Tesla before I do that. So I don't have to do that. Right? I'll go trade the SPY, but I don't have to do that. So that's what I'm trying to really get people to understand is that I'm just not seeing this in real life. But if I'm wrong, show me some data to show me where we have this section and we got a zip code, we got a city to where black women, as a result of their education, as a result of, you know, them being economically mobile, they're just outperforming black men, right? Show it to me. But I'm not seeing that. Let's keep going. So here's something put out by the Atlanta Wealth Building Initiative, right? Has found that white Atlanta families have a median household income of $83K, while black families' median income in the city is $28,000. White Atlanta households have a staggering 40 times more wealth than black households, $238,000 for white families compared to just $5,000 for black ones. Right? So this is what's actually going on the ground. Let's keep going. Right? 36% of black households in Atlanta, over 1/3 have zero net worth at all. That means their total household debt is greater than the value of their assets. Comparison, only 13% of Atlanta's white households have zero net worth. Right? For Latinos, it's 20% zero net worth. For Asian Americans, 11%. So to me, this is the real issue, is that we have a city that is predominantly black. I'm talking about the actual city of Atlanta. I ain't talking about people living out in Flowery Branch. I'm not talking to people that's living out of Douglasville that's claiming. I'm talking about the actual city of Atlanta, right? Atlanta supposedly has the highest income disparity in the whole country, right? We have a massive wealth gap between black families in Atlanta and white families in Atlanta. That's the real issue. But instead, what we doing is we creating false narratives around what's actually going on, so we never actually get to the real issue. Right? And you can go read this study. I'll put this in the description too. They did a whole study because they promoted that we need to try to push black people into entrepreneurship in this particular city. That's the only way they're going to be able to try to get some type of foothold. But you talking to a person that, well, I'll sit up at 3 o'clock, not 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm tripping. I'll sit up at 12 o'clock at night and drink tea and read city plans. So I just love to read and I love data, but I'm not buying into what just somebody's telling me what I said. I'm actually in the city, bro. And I know what's going on in the city, but I'm in the city. So we're not dealing with what's actually going on in the city. We're just creating a false reality. We're creating a simulacra of the real world because, again, I've pulled out this segment of black women. That's who I got to do business with. So I just tell them whatever I got to tell them to keep them on the hook. But there's never going to be no elevation, never going to be no improvement for them because I'm not bringing forth no elevation, no improvement. Right? I'm just entertaining them because that's how I'm going to make my money. Because I got to pay for my retirement. But we already showed at the beginning of the video, so many people, black, white, green, and purple, are at older ages and they cannot pay for their care. And we know we'll get into a world where people are going to start living longer and longer and longer and longer, which means what? They're going to need care longer. We no longer in a world where people are going to pass away at 60 years old. Them days is over with if you take care of yourself, right? But now you're going to run into an issue where you ain't going to have no money. Because, again, if you buy yourself, you got to be stacking it to the ceiling. You really have to be. You can't be wasting your time on the rest of this stuff because that's not going to help you. Because Bro and Figueroa, they're not going to help you when you fall into a ditch. You can't call them to help you get out, even though they claiming that black men dropping the ball. She ain't say that. He said it, and she ain't offering no opposition to it. But again, like I say, they're going to come back in 26 and ask black men to vote Democrat. Let's keep going. This is poverty in Atlanta. First, I wanted to go ahead and show you this number real quick. Right? And this is put out by an organization that does health data. Right? So just let you know where this is coming from. Okay? 48% African-American, 41% white. Right? Median home value, almost $400,000. Okay, let's keep going down. Poverty rate in Atlanta is around 70%. It's higher than the state national average. When broken down by race, we got 28% of black African Americans in Atlanta living below the poverty line, compared to 7.3 for white residents, 15.5 for Asians. Latinos around 13%. 27% of children under 18 years old living in poverty, 24% for those aged 60 and over. Gender disparity in poverty rates, with 20% of women in Atlanta living in poverty compared to 15% of men. But Bro said that black men dropping the ball. Okay, cool. Right? So the statistics highlight the economic challenge that exists in the city, with some population segments facing more significant hardships than others, per welfare info notes. So what we're seeing is that predominantly black, 28% poverty rate for black people, right? 27% for children under 18 years old, 24% for people aged 60 or older, 20% for women in Atlanta living in poverty, considered 15% of men. So the bottom end of our people in Atlanta are they're not doing great. But we won't deal with that. What we want to do is create false narratives, right? Because we got to keep running this distortion field. Because that's how we make our money. right? Because I don't know how to make money. I don't want to go to work. So I'm just going to create another distortion field. You see what I'm saying? And then who can I get to buy into it? And there's very much a callousness around it because, again, I'm not perfect. I've done things wrong, but I never got on this YouTube and just say, you know what, I'm just going to come up with something just because it's going to make me some money. I never did it. I tried to bring forth the truth so people can understand what's going on, so they don't end up in a negative situation, right? Because where Atlanta is going, they're going to try to push everybody out that does not make six figures out of the perimeter. Well, we know what that means then, because we know the majority of people who don't make six figures inside the city. This city skewed more towards higher income people, and the majority of those higher income people are Anglo-Americans. That's just the setup of the city. But if we don't deal with that and try to figure out, well, how do we solve this problem and how do we deal with this particular problem, and we keep fighting over straight black men are dead weight because heterosexual black women got all the education, and then I guess everybody else is like, this is foolishness. While this is actually going on. But for some people, this is the only way they can make money. And y'all promoted these people. Y'all made these people successful. So they're not going to quit because y'all ain't told them to quit. Let's keep going. That's that. So here's what I want to show you. This is something Miss Erica talked about, because we're going to talk about some solutions and maybe some changes. This is something Miss Erica talked about in like 2022 when I was living out in Houston. We talked about gated communities. What I really believe is that the way this economy is going, you're going to get more economic segregation. You're going to get more of a distance between people that have money, people that have no money, similar to what you see in the islands, similar to what you see in Central and South America, similar to what you see in Europe, where you got people that got money, you got people that have no money, and you got nobody in the middle. That's where we're going. And no matter how much people argue and complain about it, that's just where we're going. You got gated communities way out in Georgia, right? Homes between $500,000 to $1 million, lots between $30,000 and $400,000. It's gated. So you can't get in there unless you get past the gate. It's on the water. Real nice. Costs a lot of money. That's where we're going. So either you're going to live in the city and pay a lot of money to live a really expensive life. You're going to live in one of these really, really nice gated communities, or you're going to live in the middle of nowhere and you're just going to deal with what comes with it. You're going to get no services. And really, to tell you the truth, and I don't want to scare you, they're going to purge you out of these areas. They're going to purge you. They're going to let you sit out there. They're going to let you get real comfortable. They're going to feed you with a bunch of sex, drugs, entertainment. You're going to get all the social media. And then one day you're going to wake up and they're going to be purging you out of those areas. And nobody's going to come help you. The same way they purging people out of Gaza. And nobody's going to come help them. That's just what's going to happen to you. They segmented those people in Gaza. They kept them out there long enough. They did a lot of things behind the scenes to make the situation get worse. And now what are they doing? They just purging all those people out of Gaza. And they do it right in front of everybody. And it is what it is. They're going to do you the same way. And none of these people selling you this stuff going to come help you. They're not going to come help you. Right? So you're getting an either or situation. But it's going to be very difficult for you to afford this type of number by yourself. Unless maybe you get cold on social media like some of these people we just watched. It's going to be difficult for you to afford these kind of numbers. Okay, let me show you another solution that I'm a fan of, right?
Wow, the whole crew's out here. Hi. I like your houses. A lot of houses in one spot.
But they're not ADUs. They're 4 separate titles, 4 separate mortgages. So each of our children have their own title, their own mortgage.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a house a lot like one of those little ranchers. When we first moved in here in 1988, there was a field across the street. And they wanted to redevelop it. And that's when we started to say, well, why can't we have 33-foot lots instead of a 66-foot lot? We had a 66-foot lot.
would this have been the size of your lot before?
Yes, it's exactly 66 by 100.
66 by 100. So
Yeah.
basically, they are using the same lot space for one home.
Absolutely.
That's one home, not duplex.
That's one home. That's one home. Yeah.
And the same with like most of these, right? Like
Yeah. These are, I think, they're a little bit narrower, but they're still
single family.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so it's pretty much single family.
Yeah.
down
This
the
is
line.
a total single family neighborhood, and yet the council members voted unanimously to allow this because they knew that what we wanted to do.
But the thing is, because it took us so long, we never thought that Patrick and our youngest daughter, Margaret, could qualify. But because it took us so long, they barely had enough, like they had an ordinary job and they barely qualified for a mortgage just at the time when everything was ready to be set. So it's great that it took so long.
So everybody got their own mortgages?
Yes.
Oh, so that was how you financed it?
Absolutely. It was not just us. It was
Including
a
us.
joint effort.
You know,
Older couple with a mortgage.
no, but it's great. But
Well, we had paid the house was paid off. That's the benefit. We owned the land, so there was no debt on it.
see, this is where the little grandkids come back and forth. Hi, Gabe.
Hi. So where do you go to your grandma's house?
He just sneaks over, right?
Of the front wall.
Well, it does. But we wouldn't have done it if we couldn't have had 4 separate titles, because we wanted each of our children to be homeowners. That was
that equity and that
and yeah, and to be living on the ground with no maintenance fees. That was absolutely.
When did your mom move in?
She moved in 2019, and actually my dad had passed away from dementia 3 weeks earlier. And they were living in a senior's place. And then he just naturally passed away just before the month when she would move in. And so she was so happy.
15-minute walk.
Yeah, exactly. So
I'd have to show you my dishwasher.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's built in.
Everything is, there's nothing that I need. Everything is here.
yeah, she does her own cooking.
You have a full-size oven. It's huge.
Yeah, and
so I just wanted to show you this because this kind of came up on my feed and I really, really enjoyed it. Is that the mother and father, right? They realize that housing is getting really, really expensive, right? And I should have screenshotted this. Let me pull this back real quick. So they realize that housing is getting really, really expensive, right? Here's a way for our children to be able to get a house. Let's build on our lot and build multiple homes on the lot. It got approved through zoning, but everybody gets their own mortgage. So it's like everybody has their own house, right? So it allows the children now to build up equity, to build up wealth, right? Also build up your credit, okay? Everybody gets to stay on top of each other, okay? So then the children are not locked out of the real estate market, right? Because they can't afford to get anything in Vancouver. They're not locked out of a good neighborhood, maybe a good school zone. And then they're able to create community and they're able to create family because everybody's living on top of each other, right? And if you notice, they don't need a whole lot of land to do it. They don't need 50 acres to do this. I'm not down to nobody that got 50 acres, but it wasn't needed. They figured out a way to do it really on the size of a single residential lot. But now, why would a lot of people in America struggle to do this? Don't have no family. Don't get along with your family. You have animosity with your family, right? You let people on YouTube and TikTok tell you why you should be mad at people in your family, right? So this is why it won't work for a lot of people in YouTube land and on TikTok land and on Twitter land. And they listen to these relationship people and they want to make sure that you stay next to them so they can keep their money going. They don't never want you to get with nobody and build nothing. And so if you watch this on YouTube, and I may link this in the description, it took time to do this. It didn't happen overnight, right? But they got the whole family there, even including the parents' mother. And she talked about that her father had just passed away in dementia. So the mother don't have to sit there and live in a home, which is also what? It's saving the family money. Because if they got the mother in the home, that's costing them money. Then they got to travel back and forth to make sure she being taken care of, yada, 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 put it right down top of them. And everybody live together. And so what's blessing is that the grandchildren or the great-grandchildren, they get to see their elders on a regular basis, right? They get to get the lessons from their elders. They're able to create community and family right there on that lot, right? And you see they getting money because you seen the BMW and the Volvo, they getting money back there, right? Dad come out with a Sherlin on, they doing all right for themselves. And if you watch the whole video, one of her daughters lived in the upstairs part where her mother was living. But she told me her daughter lives somewhere else, but she just come through and visit. So they got a space for everybody. But it takes actually having a desire to build that community with your own people. You'll notice people will do this with people they don't even know and get around their own folks and can't do it. Because the goal is not just for people to live there, but for us to improve our wealth situation with this particular vehicle. That's the goal of it. So when the parents pass away, they still got the property. Because what? The property is already paid for. They own the land. So what is it going to do? It's going to go to the children. See how that works? So that's what I'm trying to tell y'all. If you're a single person, you doing this would be next to impossible. Be next to impossible. Right? And so I want to do something like this eventually. Right? But I want you to understand, if you living all by yourself because you got so much education and you doing something like this would be next to impossible. And we talking about homes now in the metro is pushing $400,000. They only gonna go up, right? Even if we go into a recession, might get a 20% haircut. I don't see them going back to $250,000 under any circumstances. Okay, so I just want to show you that. I'll link that in the video. You can watch the whole video. It's like 40 minutes. It's a really, really good thing. And I'm glad it popped up in my feed. Right? Let me keep going. So here's what I want you to understand. Let me show you this right quick. Hopefully it came up. Okay, this is Atlanta. This is actually Atlanta. This is Hartsfield Airport. This is Atlanta. So this is Atlanta. Okay. Let me tell you what's not Atlanta. This is not Atlanta. Right? This is not Atlanta. This is Atlanta. This is Atlanta. Right? A flight crew at Hartsfield. This is not Atlanta. This is reality television. It's not Atlanta. It's false. It's a simulacra of real life. This is actually Atlanta. Right? Sister working in the TSA line at Hartsfield. This is actually Atlanta. This is not Atlanta. It's not. It's false. This is actually Atlanta. These people working at the ticket counter. Right? This is the real city. You want to really see Atlanta, go to Hartsfield. That's Atlanta. It's those working class people working. They got to show up to work every day. They're not trying to get it popping on Instagram or TikTok or yada, yada, yada to sell lies to people about what life is. They show up for work every day. This is not Atlanta. People trying to sell a falsehood to get people to buy into it. So the reason why people got a false perception of Atlanta is because they don't really see what the real city is, because again, they don't really be in the city. Right? They come in for a game and they come right back out. They be in the Airbnb, they leave the Airbnb, go to the game, come right back out, go to the event. They don't really be in the city. This is not Atlanta. And so that's what I want you to understand. A lot of us are being sold a false reality of what the world really is. And we are elevating people that are just selling us a distortion field. And we don't understand how to do things. So here's the question. How did these Anglo people in Vancouver figure out how to solve their problem? Without somebody, a relationship or a life coach on TikTok telling them what to do. How'd they figure that out? Ask yourself that question. How did a bunch of Anglos in Vancouver figure out how to solve their problem? And they didn't need a gossip columnist to tell them how to solve their problem. How they figure it out? This is what you got to ask yourself. So again, these people are going to keep poisoning the well because it's profitable for them to do that. Right? We getting ready to go into the trick world. Let me do these shout outs for people that want to leave. Ray Gun, man, appreciate you for coming through with the $2. Emeka, man, appreciate you for coming through with the $8.99. Pascal, man, appreciate coming through the $4.99. What's going on to Dr. Chaz? 5 years of pure gems in game. So again, man, if you really want to learn how to trade the SPY on a day-to-day level, you want to get that short-term money out of the market, you got to reach out to Dr. Chaz. She's the best person in the game doing it, right? And you know me, I don't vouch for a whole lot of people, But again, I've been knowing Dr. Chad's going on for 4 or 5 years. She's been very consistent. She's been doing her thing, and she ain't on no funny business. She can teach you what you need to know if you go in there and do what she tell you to do. Right? So big up to Dr. Chad for doing what she's doing. Right? Also somebody that's teaching, building, trying to elevate people, raise people up, not just feeding people a bunch of nonsense, because that's how she gonna get paid. Big up to Miss Phoenix. Appreciate the $12 super chat. Big up to Hot Dusty. Appreciate the $5. Big up to Pascal 9. Yeah, man, had to come with the data. And then Amika, man, gifted out 10 memberships. Appreciate it, bro. So now what we getting ready to do, we're going to go into part 2 of what we're talking about. I'm going to take a little bit of a break. Ain't going to be that long. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to get right back to it. Okay, so I appreciate everybody for coming through. Sorry about the little bit of a hold up. Had to go and get those materials in place. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're going to talk about the trick world real quick, right? And the reason why I'm kind of giving this information is because I want people to understand that there's a lot of bad information on the internet that is going to get a lot of people caught up. You may remember, you may not remember, years ago, probably 2 to 3 years ago now, there was a young man out here in the city of Atlanta who went to different massage parlors, and he was killing people at the massage parlors. And he had a big issue with going to massage parlors and soliciting sex from women at massage parlors. And so what I want you to understand is that we live in a trick world. Why do I call it a trick world? Because the world has programmed you to be a trick. It's programmed you that way. It's made you think that the way in which I'm going to be acceptable is to become a trick. And then now your goal is to going to try to be the biggest trick you can be, to be the best trick you can be, because people are evaluating you based on your ability to trick. Now, what do we mean by trick? You spending money to receive romantic affection, right? Attention or sex, right? That's what I mean by trick. And then when the money spent is not sufficient, the romantic affection, the attention, and the sex is cut off, right? And then in the relationship space, they'll call that protecting boundaries. So they're teaching people now to where your boundary needs to be, if the person don't spend a certain amount of money on you, you don't deal with them no more. And that's how you call protecting your boundaries, because your boundary is how much money the person gonna spend on you. Now, here's what I want to say as a disclaimer, because people gonna take what I say the wrong way, but it's whatever. I don't mean that if you looking out for somebody, that make you a trick. If you take a girl out to eat, that make you a trick. If you help somebody out, that make you a trick. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that when you're spending money to receive romantic affection, romantic attention, and or sex, you're a trick. Because it's not about you. See, what you and this other person have, it's not about you. It's about the money that's being spent. Because when you stop spending the money, everything gets cut off. And your value to them is only based on the money that you're spending. Right? You don't have a value as a person. You only have a value based on the money that they're giving to you to spend. So that's what I want you to understand. This is what I mean by this idea of a trick. And it's a trick world because we program literally millions of people to engage in this behavior. It's a byproduct of our consumer economy. It's a byproduct of the way this particular world has been built. So everybody is participating in this unless you decide not to participate in it. Okay, let's keep going. Right? And I'm missing that article. So here's who's in the trick world. Right? Here's all the players in the trick world. Fake player tricks. Right? So what I mean is that you got the guys that, I used to be a player back in the day, yada, 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 yada. Now you was a trick. You was a trick. Okay? You was a trick, homie. But you selling the, I used to be a player and I changed my life. And no, you was a trick. Still a trick. Now you just married. Right? You got the boyfriend tricks. The dude that got a girlfriend and he got to keep tricking to keep the girlfriend. And the moment his tricking fall off, he don't have a girlfriend no more. You got the girlfriend tricks. You got the girls that got a girlfriend and they got to keep tricking to keep the dude. And if not, the dude going to disappear because they a trick. You got the sex tourism tricks. That's real big on YouTube. The dudes that's going overseas and have sex with foreign women. They tricks, right? They trick because we in the trick world, there is no shame or conviction around what they're doing. People applauded them for being tricks. Dudes got whole YouTube channels talking about how they go to the DR and trick off, right? Trying to teach the next man how to do it. You got the female teacher tricks. That's real big now. These chicks go into education and they get with these young boys and they tricking off on these little teenage boys. These chicks is 35, 40 years old. You got the sugar mama tricks. These older tricks like Donna Ross' daughter. She a sugar mama trick, trying to get on there, act like she doing something. Use a sugar mama trick. It is what it is. But you ain't got to get on here and act like you're doing something. Use a sugar mama trick. See, people that really know the game can see straight through this stuff. You got the husband tricks. You got dudes that's married, and if they don't trick on their wife, she ain't gonna like them no more. She'll stop having sex with them. So they married and they got to keep tricking. You got the wife tricks. They married and they got to keep tricking on their husband. Else the husband won't do nothing for them. Right? This stuff go on every day. You got the boss tricks. We're gonna go into that. That's the dudes that got a little bit of money. They're like 6 figures or greater. Like Kevin Samuels was trying to be the boss trick. Got you a little bit of money in your pocket, and now you want to trick off. So Kevin Samuels was the archetype boss tricks. Right? Ex-player tricks. That's the same thing as the fake player tricks. Right? Wannabe players, fake players. Being a player ain't got nothing to do with women. If you really know what being a player means. Got nothing to do with no women. You could be a player and have one girl. You could be a player and don't be in no relationship with a chick at the time. That don't take nothing away from your player card if you really know what being a player is. Right? It's the internet and media that got people thinking being a player got something to do with a woman. If you not a player, a woman don't make you a player. And if you are a player, the fact that you don't have a woman don't take away your player card. It got nothing to do with no woman. Right? Sugar daddy tricks. Okay? A lot of that going on. Right? The 2 dudes down in Miami, the 2 tricks in Miami. Right? Sugar daddy tricks. Right? You got lesbian tricks. You got chicks that's lesbians. And if they ain't tricking off on the woman they with, they won't have no woman. It's real life out here. You got gay tricks. I used to work with a dude like when I was working in healthcare. Right? He had an old white dude tricking off on him. Gave him a car and everything. You got gay tricks. Right? Real life out here. I deal with real life. I don't do the internet like that. I'm just on the internet. You got run-of-the-mill tricks. Just the average 9-to-5 working dude, right? That trick off. Married, got kids, go to a certain part of the city and trick off. You got elite tricks, right? High level. At the highest level of the game, dude got a court case right now, was an elite trick. We're going to talk about that. So this is the trick world. All different kind of tricks, right? So it's a lane for everybody to be in. And whatever kind of tricking style you got, it's a lane for you out here. Okay, we're going to keep going. So not Kim Kardashian. Was it Rob Kardashian and Black China? Okay, he was a trick, right? She knew he was a trick. She took advantage of the situation. He was a trick, though, right? Everything she had, he paid for. As if she don't know how to make no money. You know what I'm saying? But he was a trick. So she recognized he a trick. She come out of the sex industry. She recognized Rob is a trick. And I could break on him and get me some money and get a lifestyle. Because really her goal was to get married and be a Kardashian. But the family stopped that. But she realized Rob is a trick. Right? And he'll keep paying for the love and affection and the sex. Right? Because if you notice, he didn't flip out that she stopped. Then he got mad because he's asking, well, I done paid all this money. Why you tripping? Because his attitude is I done invested in you. You hear women use that term a lot. I want a man to invest in me. Don't you be hearing that term a lot? So he invested in her. And then when she cut him off, he got upset and he jumped on the internet and started talking about it like he was crazy. Okay, let's keep going. You got Elliot Spitzer, right? Boss trick. He AG, wasn't he AG? Or state attorney, one of the two. And he out there tricking. He was so deep in it, a chick that he was tricking on, she went to the hospital and he showed up in the hospital. This is a married man with kids. But that's how deep down the rabbit hole he is. See what I'm saying? So this go on all levels, right? Let's keep going. You got Pete Holmes, right? Right? We know him as Puff. Some of y'all ain't gonna know him as Puff because you're too young. We know him as Puff, Puff and Cassie. Right? Elite trick. Elite. Got all the money in the world. Right? Big time trick. Because nobody gonna ask. Cassie was with this man for 10 years. What job she had? What she worked at? Any of them women around Puff, what they worked at? Right? Puff was paying for everything. You know what I'm saying? Because he was tricking. You know what I'm saying? But they gonna leave that out. But he got solicitation of prostitution. He got so the RICO without tricking, it ain't no RICO. If he wasn't involved in tricking, it's the fact that he was taking people across state lines with it. That's how they got him caught up. But Puff was a trick, still a trick. R. Kelly was a trick. See what I'm saying? So these was elite tricks. But women claiming this is the kind of men they want. Somebody that pay for everything. They really want a trick. Right? But we live in a trick world. So this is just, it's mainstream now. Right? To where a woman live with you for 10 years and don't pay no bills. She don't work nowhere. She just live off you. Right? And you just expected to just keep coming out of pocket. That's the world we live in now. So until the court case, he was supposed to be aspirational until the court case came out. Now, people that really knew what time it was knew what was up with Puff. But the mainstream, he was supposed to be an aspirational figure. Right? Got a BET award. Then he get an NAACP award. Then he give $1 million to EYL. He was supposed to be a aspirational figure. But behind the scenes, Dalton was a trick. Was a cold trick. Elite trick. Right? Tricking like his hair on fire. You see what I'm saying? So this is why when you really get into this stuff and you really understand what's really going on, a lot of these people, man, they really don't know what they really asking for. Right? You don't know what you're asking for when you asking somebody to just put you up and pay all your bills and yada, 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 yada. It's going to be demands put on you unless you got control of the situation. So the thing about a guy like Sean or Puff is that he's a seasoned trick. So he's been tricking so long, he know how to manipulate the situation to get what he want. Because why? He had way more experience than Cassie. It wasn't that he was older. He was a seasoned trick. She was an inexperienced prostitute dealing with a seasoned trick with no game. She got no game by herself. So, of course, he ran circles around her. That's how this works. That's why people have folks. You got an inexperienced young prostitute dealing with a seasoned trick. And you don't have nobody to give her game on how to handle the situation, because the first thing you do is ain't no such thing as no GFE. See, GFE is the reason why she got into the situation that she got in. Right? But when you don't have people telling you we don't do GFE, you just catch dates, you end up in a GFC situation, and you got to take what come with that. That's why you don't do GFE. You just catch a date, and you go about your business after the date. But you got a seasoned trick with a young, inexperienced prostitute. So she got game ran on, because by the time she ran into Puff, he was 40. So he was seasoned in his tricking. See? But that's too, so all of this other weird stuff and the relationship, you don't know what you're talking about. Dude was a trick. She was a young prostitute with no game. So it's going to go how it's going to go. See what I'm talking about? So this is what you got to understand when you promoting this stuff to women and making them think this is how you going to get what you want to get out of life. Because you got to ask yourself, I know what kind of woman I'm dealing with when they say, well, the 20 million or the 30 million she got was worth what she went through. I wouldn't want anybody in my family to go through what she went through for $20 million. It's no amount of money I would want anybody in my family to go through to get that kind of money. To me, the 20 million not worth it. But you got to have a level of self-respect coming in the game from the gate. Right? Where you let a man put hands on you, and because you don't want to take your butt to work and work a job like everybody else and be financially independent, right? You just keep going with the situation. So I don't believe a lot of this stuff that people are saying, but what I do know about Puff is that Puff was a trick and Cassie was a young prostitute. If people going to say, well, Dave, you know, you tripping, you shouldn't be talking like that. What you saw, go read the document. I don't do the gossip stuff. Read court document. Tell me what you see. Old girl from Miami, young prostitute. She was trying to break on Shannon on television because she know y'all don't know what y'all looking at. She on the live stream trying to break on Shannon. She trying to seduce and reduce Shannon on the live stream. Right? But y'all can't see it. Because what does she know about Shannon? He a trick too. And it came out in documentation that Shannon a trick. Because if you want a trick, you never got involved with that woman. See what I'm talking about? So this real life out here, I know a lot of y'all ain't used to it, but what I'm trying to do is get men to understand. If you cannot control your sexual urges, it's going to cause a big problem for you. And if you like Sean Combs and you got money and you got success, this going to superpower you to where you're going to get out of line with stuff and you're going to really end up in a bad situation. Same thing with R. Kelly. Same thing with dude that was running Miramax, Harvey Weinstein. This has happened to me over and over and over and over and over again. Right? I don't know what it feels like to be a woman. I know what it is to be a man. If you cannot control your sexual urges with women, it's going to cause you a lot of problems. And a lot of women will show up in your life and they will say, well, I'm going to leverage your sexual urges to get what I want to get out of you. Right? And so do you just accept those relationship dynamics where I like this when I want to have sex with her, how much I got to pay to get to it? That's what you're being offered, that type of deal. I like this one when I want to have sex with her, how much I got to pay, how many dates I got to take on, how many, how much the price tag of the date got to be so I can have sex. That's the deal you being offered. Just show your value, right? Because we live in the trick world. So squares even try to get people to trick because this is the trick world we live in, right? Squares trying to do GFE and don't have no idea what you're doing, but they asking for a GFE experience and don't realize they asking for GFE. And somebody with game say, Shorty, you doing GFE. Now it's, oh, you broke, you don't have no money yet, but you asking for, do you realize that you asking for a girlfriend experience type situation? That's really what you asking me for? So do you know what come with that? Or are you just out here going by what you saw on the internet? Let's keep going, right? That might be the last screen before we drop the video. Oh yeah, I forgot about Lamar Odom. So Lamar Odom, right, was going through something. He allowed Satan to tempt him and put ideas in his head. He go down to Nevada and jump off in a little, I don't know, I don't want to call it a whorehouse, but like a hostel or whatever you want to call it. And they run the game on him. He almost loses his life up in there, messing with the Anglos. Low-key almost lost his life. And they taking pictures of the man and everything. They don't care. You know what I'm saying? It's God's grace he came out of there with his life, bro. See what I'm saying? This is what trick can get you. You see what I'm talking about? But you in the trick world, so Lamar allowed himself to believe that tricking and prostitutes gonna be the solution to my problem. And it just really created a bigger problem for him. He could have died up in that place. And then people probably would have threw his body somewhere in that desert and kept pushing. You know what I'm saying? If he would have died in that place, some people probably would have threw his body somewhere in the desert and kept going, right? Because I believe they did something to him for him to have that kind of reaction to the situation. I don't know. I wasn't there. But I would have never been in that type of environment, right? What he was chasing was not a solution to his problem. He was in there for an extended period of time, tricking off. You know what I'm saying? This real life. But because he got the money, he had the ability to get himself in that kind of trouble. If you are a man and you cannot control your sexual urges, it's going to cause you problems. And the more money you get, the more problem it's going to cause you. Shannon would not have never been in that situation if he wouldn't be as successful financially as he currently is now. And he didn't have the fame. He never would have got in that situation. So if you don't realize that I live in the trick world and the world is set up for me to be a trick, and many people who are squares are going to ask me to be a trick to be acceptable to them. And if I engage in that, I'm going to get myself in trouble. Right? And it's going to cause friction. People are not going to like it, yada, yada, yada. But I'm trying to save you from getting in trouble down the road. Because then once you get in trouble, everybody going to jump on you and talk about you like a dog. But these were the same people telling you that you need to trick to make yourself acceptable. Right? Because it's groupthink. It's peer pressure. Right? So to make yourself acceptable, you got to be a trick. Or else you're not acceptable. You're not a provider, yada, yada, yada. You ain't about being a provider. They want you to be a trick, though. Right? So let me give you into a video because I know y'all like the internet. Y'all like the TikTok. And I know y'all don't really know how to really know about certain stuff. Like I say, y'all into like the relationship, yada, yada, yada. Y'all let a chick sit in a shared learning space. Chick plus 50 sitting in a shared learning space, selling whole game. Like this what go on the internet. Right? Chick plus 50. This chick is a square. And just came up with this concept and she's selling whole game to squares. And I'm not trying to curse at y'all. I'm just having a real life conversation with you. She in a shared learning space. She got away with it though. She getting money off of it too, because she's selling it to squares. It ain't a chick that do that for a living will listen to her, because they know she ain't got no game. Right? You end up dead listening to what this woman telling you, if you really try to apply this out here in the street. But I know y'all like the TikTok, y'all like the YouTube, y'all like the internet, y'all like videos. So I'm gonna show y'all some videos of this world, because I want you to really understand what really go on in this world and why you don't want to have nothing to do with it. For 99.9% of y'all, the best thing for y'all, man, is to live a square life, to get out of the way, get you a house out there in the suburbs, man, go live your life. You ain't built for nothing else. You not. You don't have the mental capacity to understand anything else. And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful to you. I'm saying that because I'm trying to save your life. I can tell by talking to some of y'all, you don't realize how severe this stuff is. Lamar Odom could have died up in that house. Some people would have threw his butt in the desert, would have kept on pushing. And it just would have been another day to them. You got to realize what's going on out here and realize what you're not built for. Right? Don't put yourself in a bad position, then you got to try to work your way out of it. Because a lot of y'all not built for certain stuff. And you don't realize that you're going to keep putting your hand on that fire, and one day you're going to get burnt real, real bad. And you ain't going to recover from it. Because like I said, Lamar lucky that God spared his life. He could have died in that room, but them people wouldn't have cared nothing about that man. They don't care. Right? He just another trick. So let me show you this real quick, then we're going to get to the next part of it.
This man don't want no nails. I'm good. How are you? Yeah. What you want? You got some money for me? You got some money for me? You got some money for me? You got some money for me?
How much?
You got some money for me? 200.
Oh, 20 is too much.
Is 200 too much?
Huh?
Damn, I need 200. What you doing? How much money you got? How much you got? How much you have?
How much?
How much? How much money you got? Mm-hmm.
Minimum, I maybe.
Go ahead.
No, can I? How much? Minimum. Please
Minimum 200. Don't touch me.
Don't
touch me. Don't touch me.
But how can I guess that you are fit for me?
Because you need to guess.
Okay, so you guys showed up in the room, and real quick, it's a disclaimer for language. It's a disclaimer for adult content. There ain't gonna be no porn on here, nothing like that. But I just want you to understand, if you know that you're trying to overcome certain situations, it's not gonna be for you. If you know that you don't want certain stuff in front of you, it's not gonna be for you. I'm just trying to get y'all to understand the real world, not some chick in a shared learning space trying to sell a whole game of squares, and she ain't never really been outside like that before. Let's keep going. And so the caption say, realize you could break a trick for everything he got. Okay, so this is what's going on out here, right? While y'all out here playing games. Let's keep going.
My name is Ray Quavius. I'm 26 years old, and I'm addicted to tricking. It probably started off in like 3rd or 4th grade, you feel me? You know, when you're younger, you buying a girl that you like, honey buns, candy, Capri Suns, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. But now that we older and elevated, you know what I'm saying? Hair, nails, car note, rent, couple trips here and there, just little stuff like that, you feel me? Yeah, that's pretty much how it all got started for me. My family, man, they think I'm gonna go broke, you know what I'm saying, living the way that I live, but as long as they print money, man, I'm gonna get that, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna spend it. If they think it's an addiction, I think it's a lifestyle, you feel me? I see a bad that I like, she can get whatever she wants, because she gonna know what I want, you feel me? Yeah. I don't see myself slowing down from this lifestyle either, you feel me? Like, I'm one with the tricking at this point, so. Yeah, what Babyface Random say, you a bad bitch, get along.
Okay, so he gave his perspective. You know, that's what people out here looking for. They're looking for a cold trick. Dog say he won with the trick, and let's keep going. Okay, so show they're gonna give you, I don't know what you call it. I don't know, it was a lifestyle content, vlog content, or her out here catching dates. Like I said, this GFE stuff is insane. right? But that's all y'all know because y'all ain't never been around people that really do this in real life. But Shorty gonna show you like a little walkthrough of her little situation. So let's go through it. Right? So it's only crazy to you, man, because you a square. So again, if everything is the internet, TikTok, YouTube, y'all think this is like when Cardi B sat there and talked about how she used to set dudes up to get robbed, people lost their mind. But I thought everybody was from the streets, though. I thought everybody was from the streets. Strippers been setting dudes up forever. So that's what I'm saying is that a lot of y'all, man, this stuff seems so out of the world because y'all don't even know this stuff even go on. Y'all listen to 50 plus women in office and share working spaces trying to teach squares how to be prostitutes in a marriage. Like that's what y'all think this thing is about. That's not what this is about. So that's what I'm trying to tell y'all. That's how I know that y'all not built for nothing because this stuff seems out of the world to y'all. And this stuff going every day. It going every day. You just dealing with a younger generation now to where everything is the internet, TikTok, yada, yada, yada. But this stuff going every day. But again, this is why a lot of y'all need to go get you a 9-to-5, go get married, pay your taxes, right, on time, right? Go do join the little softball tournament, and stay out of the way because you don't understand nothing that deal with this part of the world. You don't get it. It don't make sense to you. That's why you don't need to get involved in it. That's what I keep trying to tell y'all. Right? Because when Cardi B sat there and said that she set dudes up to get robbed, people was outraged. I was like, y'all ain't been on the street before. Because strippers been setting dudes up to get robbed forever. That's the oldest trick in the world. Right? That's the oldest trick in the world. So let's keep going though.
Never have I ever stole money out somebody's purse. I was supposed to be so-called.
Bro, you know I did that though. You know I stole some money.
You like to go to Figueroa Street sometimes.
Man, it's a habit, you know? It's a drug.
You think you're addicted to it?
I could say 50-50 yes, you know, because when I'm bored, I ain't got nothing to do, I'll be out there, you know?
It's hard
and I'm out there hunting.
Hard to stay away?
Yes.
There's some beautiful women down there.
Oh, man, big booty girls, man. You got anything you want, different races and all that.
How often do you go down?
Like 2-3 times a week.
So you're spending most of your paycheck on these girls.
Man, these girls ain't got no limit.
Do you have any girls that you've gotten attached to?
Oh yeah, black girls.
You like them?
Black, Puerto Rican,
Mm-hmm.
Asians, what's it called? Argentinas, all different races. It's a lot of, you know.
But is there are there any particular ones that
That I like?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, black.
How much of your paycheck are you spending on this?
Man, sometimes I'm not gonna lie, you know, because I'm addicted to the casino too. So sometimes I'm waste like 700, 800.
It's a lot.
And drugs, woman, and casino, all that.
The whole thing's a party.
The whole thing is a party, man. All that. Next day, you know, we wake up with no money, you know, all broke, but you have fun. That's that, you know.
Right. So for a lot of these chicks, that's their ideal man, buddy. Right. He addicted to the casino, drugs, and tricking out there on Fig on the West Coast. This their ideal man. He ready to break bread. Right. They love him. So now if he get married, he gonna have the same issue. Right. And a lot of Mexicans, I ain't trying to be disrespectful, but a lot of Mexicans be married and they trick a hole in the ozone layer. Right. That's just their culture. So that's what I'm trying to tell you is that this is what these people, like, this is what this man has been programmed to do. Everything is impulse, 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 how I feel, yada, yada, yada. What make me feel good right now? So that's it, the lifestyle, right? So this is what I'm trying to tell you is that y'all got to make sure that you don't get caught up in this stuff because there's a whole world out here for you to get, and there's different levels to it. He got to trick at a level that he on because he probably a 9-to-5 worker. He can't trick at the puff level, right? But there's a whole level out here to facilitate that. Go ahead and let you go, Rick Dog, because I see you tripping.
Addicted to the casino too, so sometimes I'm waste like 700, 800.
It's a lot.
And drugs, woman, and casino, all that.
The whole thing's a party.
The whole thing is a party, man. All that. Next day, you know, we wake up with no money, you know, all broke. But you have fun. That's that, you know?
Okay, so you're seeing the Mexican at the ATM putting the numbers in for the pen to get money, telling the girl she expensive. Just that's what they like. He cashing out. Let's keep going.
Know who need to hear this, but real bitches like niggas who are proud tricks, okay? We don't want no scary ass tricks. Some nigga who don't want to act like a trick but really is a trick. Bitch, you ain't scared to ask for no pussy. So give me them funds if you want these buns. Because what you value, I don't value. You niggas be valuing pussy.
All right. So they looking for a proud trick. So I'm just trying to show you the real side of life, right? Like I say, we got a whole different generation of people right now. These younger folks, they're going to put everything on the internet, right? And so what I want you to realize is that this is the world that we living in. And this is what they're telling and programming people, not just men, but women too, that this is how you show your value in this particular society. You got to constantly keep paying for everything. The woman at the beginning is money. Give me some money. Give me some money. Give me some money. She let it know at the top. If it ain't no money, there ain't no conversation. Right? So that's what I want you to understand is that this is what's actually going on out here. You don't hear people talking about actually building real relationships with real people based on shared interests and shared goals. Is what money can I get out the next person? So you got the run-of-the-mill trick, right? That's just a regular person that's out here tricking. That's buddy that you've seen that they call a Lil Paul Wall. Let's keep going. So majority of tricks are aspirational, right? The majority of tricks aspire to be a bigger trick. So whatever level that they on, right, they desire to do it at a higher level. So the trick always compete with their ego. And so this is how women play them and make them feel like, well, if you're not tricking on a higher level, you're not a certain caliber, yada, yada, yada. That's why they got dude in the car, he cashing shorty out at the ATM. Tricks are aspirational. They want to trick at a higher level. So you see tricks, they see how what they're going to read about what Puff got going on. They're going to try to do the same thing. Why? Because they want to prove they're on that level. Right? So this is why it's so much money in that game. Because tricks want to prove, they want to outdo the last trick. Let's keep going. My bad, I hit the wrong button. So if you get into a relationship with a trick, you got to understand that you're in a relationship with a trick. You're not an exception to the rule. If you meet somebody and you're able to use the fact that they're a trick to use them and to get into a relationship with them, so they're going to be your trick, right? They're going to be your trick. Realize that you're in a relationship with a trick. So it don't stop because you get married. So the dude we saw in the video that's going to Fig on a regular basis, he get married. He don't stop being a trick because of that. So that's what people got to understand. Well, if you say, hey, I'm going to get this person to trick on me, and then I'm going to get into a relationship with them thinking they just going to trick on me. No, they going to trick because that's what they do. They tricks. Right? So they always looking for the next experience. It's an impulse thing. It's a dopamine hit. Some people like the danger of the situation. They always going to keep searching for it. So, like I said, because I'm a man and I deal with women, women got to be careful if you think, well, I'm going to find a dude, as long as he trick on me, I'm cool. Don't realize y'all get into a relationship, you married to a trick, which means what? He going to keep tricking. He ain't going to stop tricking just because y'all got married. But that's what you said you wanted because you wanted somebody to break bread all the time. So that's what you got. So you never going to be the exception to the rule. Right? So that's what you got to understand. These dudes is fighting the impulse every day. But you don't want somebody that's not a trick because you feel like, well, they're not showing me no appreciation. So you got a trick. Now you got to deal with the fact that you got a trick. Let's keep going. Same way you get a trick, the same way you're going to lose them. So if you are a woman and you get a trick with, I'm going to do this and I'm going to make sure he stay at a very, very high attraction level, and I'm going to leverage lust and I'm going to leverage his desire to have sex to get him, that's the same way you're going to lose him because he's a trick. Right? So you see with Puff wasn't dealing with no one woman. He was dealing with multiple women at the same time. One woman ain't going to never be enough for him. R. Kelly wasn't dealing with no one woman. Right? They dealing with multiple, because one woman will never be enough for them. Right? So if you get a trick, the same way you get them, the same way you're going to lose them. Because Puff was dealing with women way before he was dealing with Cassie. For people that actually was tied in to know what time it was. That wasn't the first chick he was dealing with. He was dealing with women way before that. He was dealing with way before Kim Porter. Y'all just know about Kim Porter because the media told y'all about him. That man got a long track record of doing the type of stuff he was doing. Go read Mace's book. Mace put out a book years ago when he left Puff. Read Mace's book, and Mace broke down a lot of stuff that him and Puff was doing. This was way before Cassie ever showed up. Right? Putting people on the trick rules if you desire a relationship is a dangerous game. Again, if you want a person to operate on the trick rules but be in an actual long-term relationship with you, you're playing a very dangerous game because why? You got a trick now. Right? So you got to not deal with the fact that you got a trick. However, this trick world we live in is so commonplace. If you're not a trick, people look at you like you're crazy. They say you don't have no intent romantically if you don't want to engage in tricking. They say you're not interested in me because you don't want to trick on me. Right? Because that's so common. Right? You're not supposed to take into account how much money you actually got in your pocket. You're supposed to disregard your financial health just to show this other person, I like you. That's what people expect out of you. See what I'm saying? So people will say, well, you know what? I'm going to figure out how to get this trick, but you got to be on the trick rules to get with me. And then they get mad when they realize 5-6 years into the relationship that you a trick. Y'all know that one pastor, he real heavy set, but wear skinny jeans, kept cheating on his wife. He a trick. That's why. I don't know what he doing trying to be somebody pastor. He have these problems because he's a trick. And he don't want to stop being a trick. And he allowed to play pastor with people. Y'all know what I'm talking about. He a heavyset dude, like probably now in his early 50s. Always wearing them real little tight jeans. The reason why he got all them issues, man, because he a trick. He was always a trick. The relationship life coach that was telling grown women how to run their relationship in his 20s, that made millions off of women on YouTube, he was always a trick. He was always a trick. He was an aspirational trick. Once he got enough money, he started doing what? Tricking on higher levels. His wife should have never put him under those type of rules because he was never going to be able to withhold. He was a trick from the gate. So you got a trick telling women what they need to do in a relationship. But he a trick though. Right? I was a player back in my 20s. Trick. I can tell by some of the stuff they say they a trick. Let me tell you something real life. Where I'm from, I ain't never had a desire to be engaged in no group sex, bro. That ain't never been a desire of mine. That's trickish to me. It's trickish where I come from. I ain't never had a desire to engage in no kind of group sex. That's trickish to me. So I can tell by a lot of stuff, a lot of these dudes say, it's a lot of, these dudes is tricks. They just figured out how to get some money off the internet. They got married. God bless their marriage. I ain't trying to tear their marriage apart. But these dudes is tricks and they just trying to fight the tricking every day. But this type of stuff they try to say that they think validate them as something in the game. Dog, if you would have been for a while, man, homie, you was a trick, homie. Right? Because I ain't never in my life, I ain't never had a desire to engage in no group sex with nobody. That ain't never something that ever turned me on. So you can't tell me, well, that's what men want and men want this. Come on, man, stop. Y'all is tricks, man. Right? But they able to sell to people, I changed my life, yada, yada, yada. That don't sound good to them people on the TV. That don't fool me, homie. So what I'm trying to tell you is that I really want people to really understand if you don't realize how to control this type of stuff, it's going to be your downfall. While we close out, listening to tricks give you relationship advice to me is crazy work, right? It's at the last slide. That's crazy work. A lot of this going on the internet, right? A lot of this going on in a lot of these people, man, that's giving relationship advice is tricks. The guy that blew up on YouTube, made all the millions off of women on YouTube, we saw once his money got a certain type of way, all the tricking came out of him. Right? All the tricking came. He divorced his wife to trick. But his wife said, and I believe him, he was tricking the whole time they was married because he was a trick from the gate. It was always in him to be a trick. Now, once his money came in, now he can really trick at the level that he wants to. I want people to understand this, and I really want women to understand this. But like I say, this can apply to men that date men. It can apply to women that date women, but I don't know because I'm a man that date women. But I want people to understand this. If somebody is deciding to be in a long-term relationship with you because they cannot trick at the level that they desire, that's going to cause you problems down the road. Listen to what I just told you. If somebody is choosing to be in a long-term relationship with you because they currently cannot trick at the level that they truly desire to, that can cause a problem down the road if they ever get into that position. Because the only reason they chose to be with you in a long-term relationship is because their tricking options ran out. See how that works? So that's why if I was a woman, I would never want no man to be no trick. I don't care. I would never want that. But that's what we program women to want. But if a man only will say, I do because I think all my tricking options don't ran out, you shouldn't want. But again, if I only think a man is valid based on how much you're going to trick on me, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a trick who just chose a trick on you. But it don't mean that if his money don't change, he don't decide to trick on somebody else. Because let me tell you something I learned from, I got a person I know. This is why also I'm against tricking. It take money out of households. So I know somebody the way their father was a trick, he cheated on his wife a lot. And he talked about it upset him growing up the way they didn't have things in their household because their daddy was spending money on other women. See how that worked? So you got a man that's a trick, but he's spending money outside of his home. That's money that need to go to his household. But he's spending money with all these different women. See how that worked? So that's why, again, I'm against it. And I tell men, you got to be careful of it because it'll destroy everything you built. It's all throughout the Bible, how being a trick and how being just so caught up in lust will destroy your whole life. It's all in the Bible. And you got to learn as a man how to separate lust and showing affection and attention to a woman. They're not the same thing. You gonna be sexually attracted to women. If you're sexually attracted to women, you're sexually attracted to women. But you got to understand they got to be a line there to where everything that you're doing is not just because you got lust for that woman. Because if everything is you doing just because you got lust for that woman, you'll spin out of control. You'll start doing anything. And it'll never be enough. And so you see with Sean Combs, it always was another level to it, because it's never going to be enough, because you feeding you're dealing with a spirit, and they're going to always ask you to do more. So it was never going to be enough. Right? The scenario will always get more and more out of turn. Right? So that's what I want you to understand. That's why this stuff is so real, and a lot of people don't like it. But I'm telling you, I don't want to see you get caught up in a bad situation, because 99% of y'all, you're not built to do nothing on the street. I don't say I feel bad, but I want more for these young girls like the one we just seen in this video, because she living a very dangerous lifestyle. But this is what she want to do in her life. So if I go in there and tell her to stop, she ain't going to stop, because I said she's going to stop when she want to stop. But this is why I try to work with people and show them other options. I don't just try to give them some little fake relationship content. I try to show them other options, because where I'm from, life is real. I'm from Orlando, Florida. Dude just put it in chat. There's an actual blade in my city. A lot of y'all not even from cities with blades, right? Dr. Chaz from Memphis, they got blades, and Memphis known. It's a known city. Memphis got a blade. Atlanta got a blade. A lot of y'all from cities ain't even no blade in y'all city. Houston got a blade. We know the West Coast got a blade. A lot of y'all from cities ain't even no blade in y'all city. So before the internet, wasn't nothing going on in y'all city. Then the internet popped off. Everybody started working back page. But I'm from a city where we had a blade way before the internet, right? I don't want to see y'all get caught up in none of this stuff, because you're not built for it. So I'm really convicted and really passionate about, let's create more options for people where they don't have to take these type of risks to make money. They can do more with their life. Because you're talking about these careers, there's a very, very short time frame on it. It's a really, really high risk. And yeah, while she making the money, the lady that you saw, the majority of women in those spaces, they're not making no money like that. That's a fact. She's the 1%er, been able to pull 20,000 on a 10-day run. She got look, yada, yada, yada. A lot of women ain't got that look. So they're not going to make that kind of money. It's real life out here. So don't let nobody backdoor you into being a prostitute, thinking that that's the way to do it, and yada, 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 and backdooring you in the GFE, telling you, well, you know, you taking all the risk and yada, 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 but they really trying to backdoor you to a GFE experience, because you're really not built for it. Cassie showed you she wasn't built for it, right? You're not built for this stuff, right? But when you don't want to go out here and do something for yourself, you'll make these kind of concessions. So I hope you got some value from it. Again, last live stream, I said what I needed to say. Take it how you take it. Deal with it how you deal with it. Appreciate some of y'all coming through. Some of y'all ain't seen y'all in about 90, 60 days on the live stream. So appreciate y'all coming through. Man, y'all stay safe. Be easy, man. Talk to you later.